Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I've got another video for you where we're going to be looking at creating this parallax slider you see on our screen, okay? As you can see when we move on the screen, we get a nice kind of parallax image effect on our images. Also this will take in, if we resize the screen for example, the slider will always fit to the screen, okay? As you can see now, like so, perfectly. So yeah, this uses like the linear interpolation function I spoke about a while back, just to get that kind of smooth scroll animation effect. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and let's get going. Thanks. Okay, guys, so as always, to get started with a project, I've just got the usual index.html file, a style.css file, and an app.js file, and I have the usual images folder here, just containing a bunch of random images from unsplash.com. Yeah, I've just gone with a bunch of random images I can find, really, no specific theme or anything like that. Okay, so if we go into our index.html, get the boilerplate up and running, and then here I'm going to just say, we'll give it a title of slider, and then I'm just going to say in the body, the first one I want to do here is get a main element, like so, and then in here we're going to have a div of a class of slider, like so. So this main element, or this main element here, this is going to be fixed to the screen, okay? And we're going to be using this slider div to create the kind of sliding effect when we scroll down the page. Okay, so inside this slider div, we're going to have another div of a class of slider-inner, like so. And then this slider inner is going to house, we'll say, so we had 6 images, so we're going to have 6 different image wraps, okay? So or items, we'll say. So I'm just going to give it, in the slider inner, we'll say a div of a class of item. And then within the item, we're going to have a div of a class of image, like so. And I'm just going to copy this down 5 more times to make 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, like so. And then coming down to the bottom of our body, I'm just going to link to our app.js file here using the script source tag. And then also, I just want to link to the style.css in the header. Okay, so we'll just say link, and then we'll just say style.css. And that is it for our HTML. Next thing we want to do here, just go into our style.css file. And as always, we're just going to set the global settings here. Let's just open this in live server actually, so we can see what we're working with. Okay, we'll close that down. Let's bring this over here. And then, so if I just make this smaller, and then we'll make VS Code smaller as well. Okay, so in our style.css, I'm just going to close these down. We just want to set our global settings first. So we'll do the star, we'll say margin 0, padding 0, box size and border box, like so. And then coming underneath this, next what I do is select the body. Okay, so we'll say body, and here I'm just going to say, we'll give it a background color, and I'm just going to set it as black, like so. And then I also want to set the over scroll behavior, okay, to none. Okay, so what you'll notice on some websites when we scroll up, for example, you get that kind of bounce, just to show you what I mean. If we just go to Google, you see we get that kind of bouncing. What that over scroll behavior does is it stops that bounce occurring. So you can't see it at the moment on this page because there's nothing on the screen, but that's just what that effect does. So next thing I want to do here is I'm going to select the main element next. Okay, and then in here, I'm just going to say, we're going to set this to position fixed, okay? So that means it will always stay on our screens, no matter where we scroll on the page. And then we'll set the top to 0, left to 0, width. I'm going to give this a width of 100%. And then we'll give it a height of 100 viewport heights to fill the screen. Okay, so just to show you background color, if we made that red for now, you'll see that fills our whole screen. Okay, so let's just delete that. Next thing we want to do is come under here, we're next going to select our slider. Okay, so underneath main, we'll say dot slider, like so. And then I'm going to say position, absolute this time. And then we're also going to say top of 0. We'll say left 0, and then we'll give this a width of 2,800 pixels. Okay, so it will go beyond the limit of the screen, and then we'll also say a height of 100% as well. Okay, so that's basically filling the main element vertically, and then we get some overflow there with the width being 2,800 pixels. Okay, so the next thing we want to do here is I'm just going to say select the slider inner next. Remember, this contains all of our items. And here, again, I'm going to say position absolute. Underneath this, we'll say top. And I want to position this 15% from the top. And then I'm going to give this a height of 70%, okay? So that just leaves a 15% white space down the bottom of the screen as well, okay? So 15 plus 15 is 30, plus 70 equals 100%. And then what we're doing after that is I'm just going to set the overflow here to hidden. Okay, so we'll say, no, we won't do that. Bear with me a second. We'll say display flex. Sorry, display flex, and then I'm just going to say justify content space around. So what that will do, that will space out all the items that this slider inner contains evenly in a horizontal fashion across the slider. Okay, that's it for our. I just want to say actually width. Say height and a width of 100% as well, so it fills the slider. Okay, now the next thing we want to do here is if we select our item next, so we'll say dot item, and here I'm just going to say position relative, and then we want to say width, and I'm going to set this to 400 pixels for each item. We'll give it a height of 100%, so it fills the slider vertically. And then again, I'm going to say overflow hidden, because these items will all contain image divs, and we don't want to see the kind of overflow with the child images, okay? So if we just do the background color red again, just so you can see those, you can see there's our items there. Obviously we get the overflow, okay, like so. There's 6 in total. So I'll take that off for now. Next what I want to do is just select the images, so we'll say dot image. And here we're going to position these absolute relative to the parent item. And then we're going to say left. We're going to set this at minus 100 pixels. And then we'll say a width of 600 pixels. Okay, so that means if we have a width of 600 pixels and the parent's width is 400 pixels, that means to the left we'll have a negative space of minus 100 pixels. And same for the right position as well. There'll be a kind of 100 pixel overflow to the right. Okay, and then we're going to say a height here of 100%, and then we'll say background size of cover, and this will just cover the image that we are going to apply to these image divs. Okay, it will apply the correct aspect ratio. We're going to position these, say background position here, going to position the images in a center fashion, so they're centered, and then I'm also just going to apply a filter of grayscale. Okay, and that will just make the images grey, because I like that kind of monochromatic effect. Just use this for your own, well, apply your own taste really, but I kind of like this grayscale effect. Okay, and that's it for our CSS. So let's move on to the JavaScript now. In our app.js file, the first thing we want to do in our JavaScript is get all of our images, our image divs, okay, because we want to cycle through them and apply the images from our images folder to those. So we'll just say let images equal, and here we're going to use a spread operator in an array, then we're going to say document.query selector all, and then we're going to select those image divs, okay? And then underneath this we want to select our slider, so say let slider equal document.query selector, and then we'll just say dot slider like so, and then we'll say we want to set some variables now which we're going to adjust later on in the program. So we'll say let slider width. We're also going to say let image height, and then, or I should say image width rather. We'll say image width, and then we'll say let current, and then we'll also say, actually we'll set that to 0, and then we'll say let target equal 0, and then we're going to set an ease variable to equal 0.05. That should be equals. Okay, so that's it for our variables. The next thing we want to do here is, as I said, we're going to apply the images to our image div. So we're just going to say images dot for each image, and here we actually also want to pass in the index. So we'll say image and then index, and here we're just going to say image dot style, like so, dot background image, and then we're just going to say here equals, and then we're going to use backticks. We're going to use the URL, and then we're going to say dot / images / we'll say idx +1 dot JPEG, and that just needs to be image, not images. Okay, and now you can see that our images have been applied to the image divs. And we're using this idx +1 here because obviously the for each function passes in the index for each image, and then we're using +1 as we start our images off at 1, not 0. Okay, so that's why I've just did the +1 there. Okay, so underneath this, next thing I want to do here is I'm just going to use a linear interpolation function. So we'll say function lerp, we'll call this. This takes in a start, an end, and a t variable, which is the e's. And here I'm just going to say the equation for this is return start times 1 minus t, which is the e's variable, plus end, and then here we're going to say times that t. Okay, so if you don't know what this is let's be start. This is just a linear interpolation function. I did mention this a few videos back, but what it does, it just gets you get a kind of starting position and end position, and this easing variable works out the percentage between the start and the end. Okay, and as we apply an animation, the percentage gradually gets smaller as the start moves closer to the end. So that's how it's interpolating, and that's where we get these kind of smooth scroll or smooth animations we can apply to our applications. Okay. So underneath this, next thing I want to do is just create a transform function. So I'll say function, and I'm just going to call this set transform. And what this takes in an element as well as the transformation we want to apply. Okay, so I'll just say transform. And here what we say is l.style.transform equals that transform. Okay. That's what that function does. Next thing I want to do here is create an init function. Okay, so we'll say function init, and this is the function that we're going to call as soon as our page is loaded. And here we're just going to set those variables we stated above. So I'm just going to say slider width equals, and here we'll just say slider dot get bounding client rect. And here we just say dot width, like so. And then I'm going to say image width, and that's going to equal the slider width, okay, divided by images dot length. Okay, so if we, for example, just call that init, and then if I console.log the image width, just open up our console. You can see there's this. It's basically like a ratio we're using to calculate where the image is on the screen. Okay, so obviously 2000. How big was our slider again? We set it to 2800 pixels. So 2800 pixels divided by 6. There you go. You get that number there. Okay. So that just allows us to work out the ratio for our calculations going forward. Next we want to do here is just say document dot body, and then we're going to say dot style dot height, and here we're going to just perform a calculation. So we're going to say backticks, and here we're going to say slider width, okay, and then we're going to say minus window dot inner width minus window And here we'll just say dot inner height. And then after that, we'll come out of here, we'll just close that off, and then we'll just say pix, like so. Okay, and then as we're coordinating it, we should now have a scroll bar, and you can see we have the scroll bar. And the reason we're using this kind of equation here is it allows, this will make the slider fit perfectly on the screen when we scroll down, and it will stop at the correct position, okay? You'll see shortly when we apply the transformation to the slider. That's the equation we use. And then underneath this, I'm next going to say function, we'll say animate. And what this does, we're going to say, we're going to take that current variable we set at the top, so we'll say current equals, and here we'll say pass float. Okay, and here I'm going to use the lerp function we created. That's going to take in the current position where we scrolled, and then it's going to take in the target position, okay, and then we're just going to also add that ease variable we added at the top, which is 0.05. And then here I'm also just going to apply the two fixed, okay, and we're just going to fix this to 2 decimal places, this float, because obviously this could there could be a large amount of decimal places with this current variable as we're using the lerp function, and I just want to fix this just to allow for better performance calculations, really. Okay, and then in here as well, we're going to set our target, and that's going to equal window.scrollY. Okay, and that's the amount of pixels we've scrolled down by. And then also I'm going to say underneath this slider, when it's going to transform, so I'll just say set transform here. And we're going to say slider. And here I'm just going to say we're going to translate X to move it horizontally. And I'm just going to say minus. We'll do a backtick here. I'll say current. So this variable we set. And then I'm just going to say pix after. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so now if I just call it animate. And then what we want to do here as well is just set a request animation frame and just call this animate function over and over again. Okay, so now when we scroll down, you can see we get that nice smooth scroll effect. Okay, so next, just to show you, if we could slow this down as well, this ease effect. If I put that to 0.01, you can see how much slower it takes to scroll. So that's what that interpolation is doing. It's basically the smaller the ease variable, the slower the animation, the smooth animation occurs. So I'm going to leave that at 0.05 for now. That looks good to me. Okay, so what I want to do next, let's just say, so we're calling the set transform on the slider. Next what I'm going to do is just create an animate images function, because when we had that kind of effect on our images, giving it that kind of parallax effect. So let's do that now. We'll say function animate images, and here what we're going to say, we're first in this function going to set a ratio, so say let ratio equal, and we're going to take the current position where we're at, and then we're going to divide that by image width, like so. Okay, and then we're also going to just set a variable here called intersection ratio. Okay, and then underneath this we'll say images, just scroll down, dot for each, and we're going to say, we'll pass in the image and the index as well. And then here we're just going to say intersection ratio value. So that should be value. We'll do that. Intersection ratio value equals, and here it will take in that ratio we have up here. It should be ratio. And then we're just going to subtract, and here we'll just subtract the IDX we pass in times 0.7. Okay, and this is just this is like a kind of experimentation I did just to get the sweet spot for this kind of animation to occur. Okay, so experiment with these numbers, see what you like to your taste. And here we're just going to say set transform again. And here I'm just going to pass in the image that we pass with the for each function. And then the translation we're going to apply here is we're going to say translate x again. And here I'm just going to say, we'll say intersection ratio value. And I want to subtract that, times that by 70 because it's quite a small value. And then after this, we'll just say pixels, like so. Okay, and then coming up here in our animate function, we just want to call it animate images as well. Okay, so now you can see we get that nice cool parallax animation effect. Okay, and then all I want to do as well is we're just going to say here, obviously if we resize our page, it all goes out of sync. Okay, you see we get a large amount of white space here now. So in order to fix this, I'm just going to trigger the init function whenever we resize our page. Okay, so at the top here, I'm just going to say window.add event listener, resize, and here we'll just say init. Okay, so now we'll never have that issue. No matter where we scroll on our page, the slider fits perfectly. It will fit perfectly in. Okay, so if I resize now, bring this over here, you'll see the slider always fits perfectly in our app. Okay, and then, so if I resize this again, you'll see the sliders always fit in. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for our tutorial. You can see I really like this effect. It's kind of similar to the smooth scrolling animation video I did a while back. But yeah, this is how you kind of get that cool parallax effect when you slide across the screen. Okay, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. If you have any comments, just or questions, just leave me a comment or give me a message, and I'll try my best to answer. But yeah, thanks guys. See you soon. Cheers.